more so than perhaps any other commandment on this list. You shall not commit adultery might be becoming undervalued as a society. I don't think people would absolutely celebrate adultery. But when we start to see a shift in our culture of focusing on the needs and the desires of the individual versus the family, well, we can now start to feel the temperature of the water rising all around us. Because nobody celebrates adultery, but maybe we're getting to the point where we are starting to believe that it's not all that big of a deal. Marriage now is more about how is my spouse making me happy or not happy. And if I'm not in love anymore, then maybe it's time to find love somewhere else. Well, a society that does that is losing its way as a society. I'll never forget, I was with my family in the car, and we were in bumper-to-bumper traffic, Houston traffic, and I look up and I see a billboard that says, "Want a divorce? Call 1-800-FREEDOM." And I thought to myself as I looked at my girls, man, that's a far cry in a society from the society of Jesus' day that would have actually stoned people who committed adultery. Now, we might rightfully think that that is a fairly extreme approach to adultery. But ask yourself this: why would a culture or society go to such extreme lengths to protect itself against adultery? It's because adultery violates the institution of the family. The family is one of God's most important institutions, right alongside the church. And like murder, when we violate that, there is a deep sense of wrongness that we feel when we break our promises to each other, like David was saying to the children just a minute ago. That we know deep down in our hearts that something didn't go the way it was supposed to when we break our covenants. That's why the Bible talks all about our covenants to each other as a mirror to our covenant with Christ and the bridegroom. It is a symbol of a deeper spiritual grace. Adultery may not be as overt as murder is, but we need not work too hard to see the shockwaves of brokenness and pain and grief that accompany adultery. A real sense that we have that this is not how it was supposed to be. If you are a child of a divorced family, then you know firsthand the dissonance that you felt when your parents got divorced. Without anybody needing to come along and tell you, hey, this is not what God intended for your life. This was not a part of God's plan for your family. When you consider the damage that can come from adultery, that can come from divorce, you can start to see how a society that begins to undervalue faithfulness and fidelity in marriage and the family is becoming an endangered society.